Lucas, we're live. So,
Fantastic.
for those that don't know you, can you make a brief introduction and how you ended up as a co-founder and co-owner of Gosu Academy, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give a brief introduction about my background. I'll try to keep it a little bit scholastics focused or
Hmm.
coaching focused. But I've been in the esports industry for a decade. I started coaching. It was the first kind of industry experience I got back in 2016. And that was when one-on-one coaching, so individual coaching first became a thing. I, I wasn't a professional player. I didn't have any coaching experience, but through good timing and I guess a little bit of hard work, I worked with a platform called Gamer Sensei. That was the biggest, coaching platform back then. That's where everybody went for this, and through them, I was able to, get my coaching experience. I was able to coach hundreds of students every year until I became the top coach for Counter Strike and then eventually Valorant,
Hmm.
which opened up a lot of doors. So my primary background was in individual coaching that then expanded into team coaching. Fast forwarding a little bit in 2019, I got the chance to broaden my experience and dive into the academic world, if you will, by becoming one of the first esports teachers in Scandinavia when Sweden they opened up their like athlete programs to include esports, and that's on a senior high school level. If we use U.S. terminology, I guess. I don't
Hmm.
know what you call it in Spain. So I did that as an esports teacher for a few years on a senior high school level in Sweden, and then in 2023 I joined Gosu Academy. I was not actually founding it, but I joined couple months after it was founded and have since helped build out and expand our global academies, as well as a lot of the work that we do in the scholastics market in North America.
Amazing. And what was the initial, like, when Gosu Academy started? What was like the initial objective, and because now you guys have like three branches, like, but what was the initial of what you guys started with? What do you want
Yeah, yeah.
to accomplish? Yeah.
We've come. See, what we do now is very, very different, or well, I guess natural evolution of things. But
Hmm.
um, when I joined, we had an idea, and I joined because I was excited by, the idea of group coaching as a model, right? Because
Hmm.
at that point in the market, one-on-one coaching, existed. There were marketplaces, competing for market share, but we thought that group coaching as a concept has so much potential if done right. First of all, it's very scalable. And if done right, I mean, it's so much easier to provide more value at a cheaper cost for students. So the first thing we wanted to do was to do boot camps. So we launched 10-day boot camps. That was the first thing that we did in a couple of games, where we brought in professional coaches and educational influencers a little bit for the marketing side, and we ran these boot camps. It went okay, but not nearly as the reception we thought it would have. So then we thought more about this group coaching model and how we can deliver the value, because our core mission uh, in this on our B2C side has always been trying to be the bridge between amateur level of play and the professional scene, because we identified a big gap. So then we started our first academy. It was in Counter Strike, I believe, and our to describe our academies, it's basically a full training environment where students can enroll in a subscription model. So they pay $29 per month, and we give them access to weekly classes, so up to 3 to 4 weekly classes led by professional coaches, where we teach them the theory of how to play said game on a high level, how it actually works, because as we all know, the solo queue experience is very, very different from when you look and you see the
Hmm.
professionals play. Um, so we teach them the theory, and we do that live, of course, and we have our our platform video library where we store past classes. But then another very important part of that group coaching model is the application. So we pioneered something called we call it Coach 10-mans in CS and Valorant. It's essentially coached like pickup scrims where we take 10 players to come in and we arrange a practice opportunity. So 10 players, even rank distribution, and we help them then apply everything that we teach them in theory. So this training session is led by a professional coach. So instead of people just coming in and playing on their own or playing solo queue, they can actually experience, or most people, they get their first team experience through our academy, where they can learn how to play the game in a structured manner, learn about the theory, and then get help with the application from a professional coach.
Amazing. And with all the conversations with the coaches and with all your coaching experience, what would you say is like one habit that a player can, should start developing today?
Oh, I mean, there's so much because I mean, and obviously this is a lot of. I mean, there's a lot
Mhm.
of companies and organizations that try to lead this development. A lot of people in the scholastic space as well, because gaming or esports is obviously very different from traditional sports in the sense that traditional sports always has coaches, right? And these coaches, they go through
Mhm.
education and certifications, and they so training structure and these kind of things are rarely an issue in traditional sports, but in esports, I mean, most players at teenage years, very talented, all they do is just play a copious amount of games, and they just try to figure it out on their own. And that's also another reason for us creating the academy. We want to be able to bring resources, not just game specific resources, but we've had some of the best performance coaches in the world come into our academies and deliver classes to our students, and we try to get them more interested in that side of the thing. So one thing, well, to answer your question, to choose one thing, I would definitely have to say training structure. Actually
Training
having
structure.
a plan for, where am I at now? Where do I want to get? What are the skills that I'm going to have to acquire? And then what would be the best approach to take to, to do that as fast as possible?
Initially, do you provide that to the players so they have like a clear vision, like for the next month or for the next few months on how to improve to get where they want to go? Or how do you provide the structure to players?
That depends. I mean, so when we talk about individual players,
Mhm.
and this kind of structure or individual coaching is very, very valuable because you can get something that's tailored to the individual, right? Because everybody has different preconditions, different schedules, um, and different strengths and weaknesses, right? So
Yeah.
it's very hard when we run a group coaching model in our academy. We coach students from play the game very, very little to players that are almost at a semi-professional level and are looking to get resources to take that final step. um, so in our academy, we cannot go and give, if we have 500 students, we cannot go and create
Mhm.
tailored training plans for every single individual, but we try to provide the knowledge in theory so that our students can take in this knowledge and then have a better idea of what's relevant for me and for my situation and the skill level where I'm at, and how can I build a structure, or how should I think about my development uh, for myself, right? So
Yeah.
that's a difficulty. I mean, in a group coaching model, that's always going to be the difficulty, because if you have 500 students and you provide a service at a very accessible price, then yeah, I mean, there is the only part where it lacks in terms of the model is on the individual feedback side, right? But of
Mhm.
course, we do one-on-one coaching, and we do more um, premium products like our boot camps. Our 10-day boot camps, we bring in franchise coaches. So it's it's very dependent on the product, how much we're able to give to a specific student.
Amazing, amazing. Now, I wanted to touch on the scholastic side. Okay, I saw that you work with a bunch of universities, high schools, not only in North America. So, like, let's start with like, what is like a day to day for you working in Gosu Academy, working with those schools and universities? What value do you provide to them?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, like the backstory is that we had our academies running, and that was always the core focus of the business.
Mhm.
But we came into the collegiate space and the scholastic space because we saw that there was a big need. You've had a lot of conversations with a lot of directors and key stakeholders in the scholastic space. So you would certainly know that um, coaching resources can be hard to come by for players. Especially the lower uh, down you go. Like K-12, high school level. It it's really tough. But even at a university level, even just a fully fledged varsity program, we still have the classic situation where we have one director with a ton of responsibilities, who's then also expected to coach 5 teams in 5 different titles, which there's no professional coach in the world that can coach 5 different titles effectively. um,
Mhm.
so that's one of the core demands that we saw, and what makes us unique is that we're not a marketplace, but through our academies we have so many resources that we give our students anyway, right? We have the classes, we have the material, we provide the training opportunities, and since we already have that, we thought, well, of course, from a varsity standpoint, the private coaching solution is always going to come at a cost. But if we can leverage the resources that we have from our academies, then we can build tailored coaching solutions for teams and for varsity programs that are much more cost efficient, and much more bang for the buck, if you will.
Mhm.
So, that has effectively allowed us to help small high school programs where, there's basically a non-existent budget, but where we can take in relevant video resources from our libraries, and, like on paper training modules, and share that with their students, for, as low as a couple $100 per semester. Um, and, that's just a way for us to help, and help the scholastic space. But on the other end of the spectrum, we've been fortunate enough to work with some extremely skilled teams, and we helped Keanu College with their Valorant team, specifically phenomenal team, where we enabled them to work with a world class coach that we brought in a remote solution for 10 to 15 hours per week. Now, starting this fall semester, we actually have one of our best Overwatch and Marvel Rivals coaches who's running our academy. Um, he's a former Overwatch franchise league player, played for San Francisco Shock, and he will be helping. He'll be coming in a couple hours a week to help Loyola University with their Overwatch team, and that's just fantastic because even for bigger varsity programs who have part-time staff to help coaching, or they have assistant coaches or graduate assistant. There's a lot of models that are used. Um, None of them will come close to a professional coach with tier 1 experience. So being able to, through us, bring in somebody that possesses that level of expertise, it doesn't only help the players, but it helps the staff as well. It's almost a form of PD.
Yeah, for sure. And some students that we work and are working without us saying, they are impressed when they like without before we have a call with these for directors and with them, we make them do some research, and when they get one of the things that they research is like the landing page of the university of the esports program, and they're impressed when
Mm,
like there is a coach that does Rocket League, Apex, and whatever. There's coaches doing like three. different video games, and they're like, how can they do that? I'm like, yeah, that's that's
It is
in
impressive,
a lot of cases
certainly.
that's the thing, you know. But okay, and I know it maybe it's more Javier, the Middle East, but like, if you can broadly tell me, how is the high school university scene evolving there?
In the
Like,
Middle East.
yeah, 'cause that's very interesting,
Um,
and there's a lot of PR about esport programs in universities, high schools. Um, yeah, how's that
mm,
evolving?
yeah, I mean, so I think the U.S. and North America is very unique. I mean,
Mhm.
you're also European, so you can probably attest to the fact that in a lot of other regions, sports is not really like a thing on a collegiate level. Like collegiate sports doesn't exist. There's in the
Mhm.
U.S. you have an entire ecosystem of where um, the university teams or the college teams is kind of the springboard. And for a lot of sports, I mean, athletes are recruited directly from colleges, right? I mean, and this is ancient. I mean, in Scandinavia, where I'm from, there's no competition. There's no sports competition at all at a university level. And in the Middle East, I mean, I think it's similar. We've been involved in some interesting products where we've launched after school programs um, for esports. But I know that universities are also they're on their way of adapting not just esports, but gaming as a whole and the career pathways that comes with it into the education system. So more schools are picking it up. Um, at a younger level, I still think it's more so. After school programs is not something official, but
Mhm.
at a university level, I know several universities that have or are currently in the process of taking that step.
Okay, amazing, amazing. We have Brendan Hall in the
Hey,
comments
Brendan.
from Eden College says, "Yo, Lucas." Brendan, if you wanna, like ask a question,
Brendan's like
further
you.
question.
Brendan's like you. You guys are everywhere. I mean, Brendan's fantastic with marketing and content, and I mean, so are you. I mean, you can't get out of my LinkedIn feed. It's and the posts that you make, like it's really good. You too.
But you never give it a like, Lucas. It's always so you're one of those, like behind the scenes reading, but never.
I do like when it's something coaching related. I stop by, but yeah,
Yeah. Well, Brendan also has a podcast, so so tune
yeah,
in,
I'm
guys.
aware.
But so when players, uh, in your academy, like feel stuck, at the beginning when they're studying, how do you, like uh, work with them in that mental constraint that they have in,
Um,
in the group coachings?
mm, so I mean, as a foundation, we try to have, I mean, as much resources as possible available for
Yeah.
all students. So I mean, we've had, I think, up to 10 master classes in different topics related to performance psychology by leading mental coaches and performance experts in esports. So we have these resources. Obviously, all students, they don't leverage them. It's not the most fun and engaging way of learning, right? Like it's kind of like
Hmm.
a video course, and that's obviously something that we never want it to be a video course, which is why we're doing everything live and we try to work a lot on practical application. But for every esports player, it's you get stuck, you plateau in terms of your skill development, and of course, in the academy as a group coaching model, we try to have and give access to broader tools and resources for players to you know kind of try to get out. But I would say for players in those situations, then one-on-one coaching is a lot more relevant, because your situation is your situation. It's very specific. So we see a lot of players and a lot of players in general, like not just through Gosu Academy, but in the general market, when players seek out coaching, it is usually when they feel like, oh, I am stuck. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to work on.
Hmm.
What's the next step for me? And then they seek out one-on-one coaching, and that's and it's an interesting thing, because when you learn, and a key difference between esports and traditional sports, because in traditional sports it is very advantageous that when you learn something new, say paddle tennis, or now if there's a lot of US people, we might not talk about paddle tennis. Let's do regular tennis, because I can't stand pickleball. So if you want to learn regular tennis, it's very advantageous to take lessons and classes in the beginning, right, while you are learning, so that you can learn the right way, adopt the right technique, and you know avoid forming a bunch of bad habits. But I mean, in esports, let's say that there's practically nobody that goes, plays the game for 50 hours and then thinks, oh, now I want to coach, right? But it is usually when they are stuck. And then one-on-one coaching is certainly one of the best tools to be able to, you know, have a thorough assessment and have a coach not just, assess your situation and what you're struggling with, but when I talked to Brendan, we talked a lot about being solutions oriented and how that's important in terms of coaching, right? So you seek out a coach because you're stuck, and if it's a really good coach, the coach will help you with, okay, these are the steps we need to take to keep on improving, or to get to the next level. So whether that's fixing mechanical errors, or looking into bad habits that have formed, how do we fix it? How do we acquire the skills that we need to acquire to get to the next level? This is all very relevant, and that's one-on-one coaching is certainly the thing to seek out for somebody in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Also, when you guys like the video games you work with, can you? I looked it up, but I forgot. Like it was more Marvel Rivals, League of like. Can you repeat the video games you work with, and why did you select those video games?
Absolutely. So we started with 3 academies that were launched, in the
Mm-hmm.
first year of since inception, and those titles were Counter-Strike, Valorant, and League of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, we've switched out our League of Legends academy, and we jumped on Marvel Rivals. And currently in Valorant and in Marvel Rivals, we are market leaders in the coaching space. In Europe and North America. So those are the 2 titles that we're focusing on. But I told you before that we started off with boot camps, so we have done 10-day boot camps, smaller projects, and a variety of other titles. So in the scholastic space, we do design coaching solutions for pretty much any game. There are some titles like Smash, very very like an American phenomenon. That we don't feel super comfortable with. But other than that, we work in all titles, but our academies we have in these 3 titles specifically, and that's primarily because of the size of the game.
Yeah.
It's very
Mm-hmm.
hard in smaller titles.
Amazing. And why would you say like universities and and high schools like work with you? What I'm trying to say is like, what would you say are like your uniques as a as Gosu Academy?
Um, yeah, I mean, so the first thing that makes us unique is the access to resources that we have through our academies.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, since we already have a lot of resources, when we don't have to create them, there is not a very high cost. So we can provide a lot of extra value in a variety of areas that doesn't necessarily come at the expense of a university partner. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing is that majority of our solutions are like the foundation is private team coaching. So the foundation is, one of our coaches spends, a certain amount of time helping a specific team. And what makes us different there from marketplaces is that, through our academies, we already have a working relationship with our coaches. We have some of them on payroll, and we select only specific coaches from our roster, to be eligible to work with Collegiate, because we don't want it to feel like a college director comes and buys 1 hour of coaching from a platform, and then they get that hour and then gone, right? We work long term, and we work a minimum of 12 hours a semester. We do the entire competitive season. So we make sure that our coaches understand that, they're not hired to be there for, X amount of hours, but we want them to be invested in the team success. We want it to feel like they have a part-time coach on site that's there, even if it's not practice hours. The players want to run, a strategy or ask for some advice for an upcoming official match. We want our coaches to be there for that. And so that's very important to us. And then the kind of by side effect of that is that, since we work remotely and it's a remote coaching solution, it comes at much lower cost for the level of expertise than universities that hire locally or use part-time staff. And since we have, through our academies, have such a broad roster of coaches, we have coaches that are specialized in coaching on a high school level, where it's more teaching and more focused on the fundamentals and the social aspects, all the way up to world championship coaches. We never present packages when we start working with universities, but we try to tailor the solution for the team. So it's very important for us to understand the exact skill level of the team, so that we can assign a coach that is right for what they need and what they are trying to achieve, right? Because it doesn't make sense for what's your favorite game? So we can take a relevant example.
My favorite game, what is now called EAFC. Let's call it that. Yeah.
Oh, there's not even ranks in EAFC, right? Do you even have ranks?
No.
No ranks.
Let's see. Rocket League. I like to play with friends, Yeah.
Okay, I mean, the rank system are very overcrowded. Let's say silver is a low rank in all games, right? So let's say you have a silver average team. It doesn't make sense that we bring in a tier 1 coach, that has, very high cost and all that.
Yeah.
Just like a struggle for a lot of competitive programs is that they have a very good team. They have maybe even, all players on some kind of scholarship. So these players are Immortal, Radiant, and Valorant, for example, very high level. It's exceptionally hard to find that level of, like, the local level of expertise that is required to efficiently coach a team on that level. So, I mean, we have that, and we assess, each team and each situation, to try to ensure that we, assign in a coach that's ideal for that team specifically. Just like we then, cherry pick resources from our academies based on the team level and situations. We see what's relevant, and then we sit down with the director and decide, okay, what do we want to put into this package?
Amazing. The adaptability that you guys have is amazing. And one thing that what you were saying about like coaches and all the level of coaching and all the high professionals that would cost quite a lot, and with the price that you provide them, but like for the next, let's say 5 years, as collegiate sports continues to evolve and there's more students that are assistant coaches or contracted full-time coaches, do you think schools, universities will still want to like want remote coaching? I believe so, but I would I would love you to give a more like detailed explanation.
Yeah, no, I don't know if they will want. There's a lot of universities out there that don't want it currently, and that's one of the most common misconceptions that I run into. Because there will always be a need. Like, you cannot source a certain level of expertise locally. You cannot get somebody like a world champion coach to come in part-time on campus. It just doesn't work out, and it would come at a much higher cost than working remotely. But this is one of the primary struggles that I have. When I initiate conversations, and the response is just, well, we have part-time coaches, or we have a graduate assistant that played for our Rocket League team last year, and now he's coming back to help coach our players. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's a great thing. You know, if you have a skilled player that's already been on campus, familiar with the program, I mean, it can add phenomenal value and help, you know, in terms of leadership as well. But it cannot be compared to the level of expertise that would be accessible through us, for example. So, you know, if you want to invest in the success of the team as well as the staff that you have, you know, I always try to say that what we design is usually complementary. You know, it's not a replacement, but it's a complement, because if we can give the team an opportunity to learn for a couple hours per week and get knowledge and experience that they can't find or acquire anywhere else, that's obviously going to benefit the coaches that they have as well. Or hell, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
sign up the assistant coach to Gosu Academy, right? Or get them to come through us,
Yeah,
and they will come out on the other side as a much more capable coach.
yeah, amazing. So that was my next question. So like, because so you also help coaches in collegiate sport programs become better coaches, not just provide coaching sessions to them, but you also uh, train them. Is that what I understood right? Or
No, I mean, in general, it's more of a byproduct. You know,
yeah.
if a team and their coach come in and they get to work with one of the best coaches in the world,
Hmm.
that coach will learn a tremendous amount from this far more experienced coach. Um,
Hmm.
so, you know, coaching the coach or training the trainer, that's something separate, something that we do in
Yeah.
a lot of other markets. But the interest for that in in North America has, well, it hasn't been great, but it's primarily focused on the players.
Yeah. Hmm. Lucas, before we wrap up, is there anything that I missed that you would like to talk about?
No, I guess I can do an early plug for something. It's not something that we've announced officially, but it is scholastics related. So
Yeah.
at a high school level, we see there's a lot of associations that do a, you know, phenomenal job in terms of, you know, facilitating interscholastic cooperation and, you know,
Hmm.
spreading, like, providing competitive opportunity for, you know, a bunch of schools and a lot of kids. But, you know, my vision from a couple of years back has always been, you know, this level of collaboration, but on the educational side, because we know that maybe 90% of all high school esports clubs or programs, you know, they don't have access to virtually any form of in-game coaching or skill development. So one thing that we are doing now in September as a first step is that we are running an online boot camp in Valorant and Marvel Rivals, where we are collaborating with 5 state associations, so high school esports state associations,
Hmm.
where, you know, we'll try to get as many schools involved as possible, and, you know, just provide a great opportunity for those students to learn and develop at, you know, a very, very accessible uh, you know, point of entry. Just make sure that everybody has the opportunity to come in and learn.
Amazing. Amazing. And that leads me to like a next question that I remembered. I just remembered like when you started in Gosu, and
Yeah.
now what is one thing that you wish you knew? For me, it's to build better systems and to delegate more of those $10 an hour tasks. But what is something that you wish you knew?
I wish I wish we I wish I knew more about marketing. Yeah, marketing and customer retention. You know, I was always, I
Yeah.
had my background in coaching. We were very focused on, you know, okay, we need great coaching, great experience, and all that. And, you know, we fired on all cylinders. But um, in this kind of model and in esports in general, I mean, it's if you're not super well funded, you know, by venture capital or whatnot, you know, and you're trying to build something that's sustainable and can operate on its own, um, then marketing is so important. Um, acquire customers at a cost that, so that it pays off long term. And it took us quite a long time to prioritize that and to build the systems needed to be able to get the right data, and understand the model that we were operating fully.
Yeah, marketing, retention, acquisition, content creation is something that there's so much, and there's always this new things that you can apply and stuff like this. It drives me crazy sometimes, but you have to stay on top. But yeah,
I'm
it's
taking
very
a lot
fun.
of inspiration from you. I gotta, it's like the classics. Telling colleagues as well. Telling ourselves every day that, hey, we gotta step up the the content game. The PR visibility. But
Yeah.
it's always tough.
Now,
It's like personality thing. Either you like to put yourself out there and you like to produce content and social media, or you're pretty anti.
Lucas, I was at the beginning was very anti. I do not. I mean, I don't consider myself a great communicator right now, but like before, I was like way worse. Like you see my YouTube videos like 3 years ago when I started, the interviews with esports directors or head coaches. Compared to now, it's like day and night. I think it's just get out there. If you mess up, okay, people will not remember tomorrow or in a week. Okay, and just continue getting better, learning, try new things, and with you look back in the years and you're like, like even so just
Absolutely.
get out there and do it. So yeah.
Try my
uh
best. This is a small first step. Trying to
yeah,
get that
of course.
LinkedIn a little bit more
Yeah,
active.
my next step is also how to also automate it, automate it better, but like the brand not depend on me, like put the team also more out there, and also the brand, make it even
Yeah,
better,
yeah,
because
yeah.
like right now the brand is very reliant on me. We're working on the brand being run by itself, but yeah. Work in
Different
progress.
dimension.
It's a
Yeah.
yeah, work in progress. Lucas, thank you so much for your time and for this talk. For sure, there's a lot of people that got amazing value. And yeah, where can people find you? Any 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 social media? Anything that you want to shout out?
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, thank you for having me. It was great catching up. It's been quite some time. I have a social media allergy that I'm trying to cure. So the best way to get in touch would be LinkedIn. Happy to connect with any people in the space.
Amazing.